Hello students, this is Carol Bickle here, your instructor. I wanted to make a video for you today as opposed to writing this out and making you read even more information than you've already have to read. I want to share with you some methods of sharing information with your students that I have picked up along the way from conferences, from other colleagues, and from you as students. So the first thing I want to show you is an illustration, a very simplistic illustration of the brain's three categories of the brain. And it's using your arm and your hand. The first thing you would explain is that in your body, your arm would represent your spine. On the top of the spine sits your head. The first part on top of the spine right here is your reptilian brain. The reptilian brain is the top of the brain that is in the moment only. It can't remember the past, it can't project the future. It's in charge of things like your digestive system, your heart rate, your stress management, even reproduction. It's in charge of all of that. Then right above that, you have what we call the limbic system. This is where all of your feelings, it's kind of the emotional regulator part of your brain. And in here lies the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and the hippocampus. And all of that stores memories, past and present. Both the good memories and the bad memories are stored here. It's the hub for what makes us feel good. Again, it too, along with the reptilian brain, is concerned only with self-preservation. In here you would house the fight, flight, or your freeze response to a situation that is negative. Emotions relating to attachment and previous relationships are also housed here. So it's a very complex system of emotions. Then you have the cortex. The cortex makes up 2/3 of our brain. And in the cortex, the neocortex, you have the rational brain that makes us human, makes us different from many animals. It's higher level thinking, it's logic, it's reasoning, it's insight, foresight, and hindsight. And when you run across a student in your classroom who has, for whatever reason, keyed into the limbic traumatic feelings, the neocortex is no longer in control. When we say that, the student kind of flips their lid, in a sense, it kind of is true, because the neocortex cannot be used at this time. The whole point of the student is self-preservation. And if they're fighting, they could be fighting other students, they could be throwing furniture, they could be flight, running away, hiding somewhere, or they could freeze. And when you have a student who's in that state, they will have a bland affect, and they will no longer, whatever those three are, you won't be able to reason with them. They must be able to calm down. And once they've calmed down, then the neocortex can once again soothe them, and rational thinking and logic can once again be re-engaged. So this illustration will hopefully help kids understand that when they do things they feel sorry for later, or they get into huge amounts of trouble and the consequences don't really matter to them at the time. Hopefully they'll understand that when the neocortex is disengaged and the limbic and the reptilian brains are in charge, nothing you do or say, no relationship you have, is going to make a difference until they calm down. Which leads me to the next thing I want to share. And Kelsey shared this in the discussion. Maybe some of you read it. And that is that when a student is calmed down, you can help them ground to the here and now. And you can use that by using their 5 senses. And Kelsey's example, and I've heard this before in conferences and things like that, is to use the 5 senses. The 5 senses involve 5 things that the student might see. Have them name them. Have them name 4 things in the room that they could touch. Not that they have to, but that they could touch because they're looking around. 3 things that they might hear. 2 things that they might smell. And then 1 thing that they might taste. Another method that I hadn't heard before that Kelsey shared was that have the student imagine holding a cookie, a fresh baked cookie. How does it feel? What does it smell like? What can you smell? What do you think it's going to taste like? And then the other thing she shared was blowing out a candle. You know, and maybe in stressful situations, really stressful, maybe you have to have 5 candles. But for sure, the blowing out of the candle is another way to help them feel grounded. One of my former students shared the mindfulness technique of breathing, as well as the other mindfulness techniques that we've already talked about. But hers was the starfish. When you take your finger up your hand, you breathe in. When you come up to the tip of the finger and you blow out. Breathe in and blow out. And you do that breathing in and breathing out for all 5 of your fingers. And it's just a different form of the mindfulness techniques that we've talked about up to this point. The last thing I want to share with you is an author that I am a fan of, and I have actually done conferences, workshops using her material, and that is Michelle Borba. She has written this book. It's called Unselfie: Why Empathetic Kids Succeed in Our All About Me world. With technology and communication with their friends, mostly via texting and their phones or emailing or, all of the other chat rooms and all the other things they have. Sometimes they lose their ability to be empathetic with one another. She gives concrete examples of what teachers can do and what parents can do, and she spells it out for you. She also gives a plethora of examples of fantastic kids and what they have done and the difference they have made in their lives, in the culture of their schools for some of them, and in their communities because of their empathy and what they did with it. It also could help parents understand how important it is to focus and to use that empathy to make their environment a better place, to help them to figure out how to do that. So that's the third thing that I want to share with you. And with that, I'm going to finish the video. Please continue the good work. Y'all are amazing in what you're sharing. The resources have been fantastic. I'm hoping that you're keeping track of all the resources that are being shared and that you're going to have a portfolio of different things you can refer back to in your classrooms. Again, have a great day. And for those of you who are mothers out there, Happy Mother's Day. Bye-bye.